Hello, thank you for tuning in to the 2024 primary election candidate forum for the Legislative District 22 Senate position. This forum is presented by the League of Women's Voters of Thurston County in collaboration with Thurston Community Media. The League of Women Voters is proud to be nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties at any level of government, but always working on vital issues of concern to members and the public to defend our democracy and empower voters. I am Nicole Miller, she, her pronouns, with the League, and I will be moderating this forum. Susan Kolan will be our timer. Each district elects a senator to Washington State's legislative branch. The legislature is bicameral and is composed of the House of Representatives and the state Senate. The legislature determines the level and means by which citizens will be taxed. They write and modify Washington state law and regulate other branches of state government. They help Washingtonians to understand and work with state government. There are 3 candidates participating in this forum: Jessica Bateman, Tila Hogel, and Bob Ayal. For this forum, each candidate will have the opportunity to answer a series of questions. We will call on candidates by reversed alphabetical order. They will take turns being the first one to answer the questions. Each question will relate to one subject only, and candidates must answer the questions posed. Candidates will each also give a 1-minute closing statement. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. If you need me to repeat the questions, don't hesitate to ask. The timer will turn yellow when you have 15 seconds left, and then we'll show a stop sign when your time is up. If you don't notice the sign, I will tell you when your time is up. We stress the importance of civility in our forums. Candidates, you have each received the ground rules for the forum and have agreed to abide by them. Beginning with Bob Ayal, the first question is there action the legislature should take to stabilize the cost of rent?
Affordable housing is a major issue that still needs to be addressed. My approach to affordable housing is through collaborative efforts, getting the landlords and tenants and all the stakeholders involved to the table, coming up with solutions that benefit tenants and landlords alike. I believe that over-regulating is going to lead to a shortage of supply. And so I think the reason for the collaboration approach is to ensure that we don't reduce the number of rental units, but we want to increase the number of rental units. And that is going to mean that we have to make sure that everyone involved has benefits from the process.
Thank you. Tila Hogel?
Thank you. Rent stabilization is essential to protect tenants' rights. That is necessary to keep people in housing, especially people who are a paycheck away from missing rent. I think importantly, especially with renters and landlords should be providing a tenant's rights information, as well as access to organizations that provide rental assistance when money gets tight. And landlords should be providing that in every contract and making sure that their tenants have access to those resources. Thank you.
And Jessica Bateman.
Thank you. Washington is experiencing an unprecedented housing crisis, which has been caused by a shortage of housing. We're not building enough housing to keep up with our population growth. We're about 250 homes short of enough homes in Washington for every person. And home ownership is unaffordable for those making an area median income in every county in Washington state, which is why I've worked to address this by legalizing middle housing and increasing supply. At the same time, we have to stabilize renters where they are. This last legislative session, we had a bill to cap rent at 7% every year. I co-sponsored that bill. I voted in support of that bill. Unfortunately, it died in the Senate. I do believe that bill will come back next year and will pass. I hear every day from individuals that are terrified of having a rent increase they cannot afford, including our seniors who are on fixed incomes and our low-income neighbors. I support that bill next year.
So beginning with Tila Hogel, the next question is, what role, if any, do you see for the state government in reproductive health care?
I see a critical role in protecting reproductive health care. I do believe it should be, we need a constitutional amendment to protect the rights of everyone to have access to reproductive care, and for everyone who requires abortion services. We need to expand access to contraception in schools and in every arena where our youth are participating in our society. Thank you.
And Jessica Bateman.
Thank you. Since the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the decision by the Dobbs decision, Washington State has taken a number of steps to protect providers in Washington from outside vigilantes in states like Texas that want to hold our doctors accountable for their Byzantine laws. We've also increased access to abortion medication. I sponsored a bill that allows the Department of Corrections to purchase 3 years of mifepristone and distribute that to healthcare providers in the case that the federal government is uncertain. We have an election year this year and we don't necessarily know what the future will hold. I also sponsored a bill that eliminates co-pays for abortion in Washington because your ability to access that reproductive service should not be contingent on your ability to pay. I do think that we're going to have to remain vigilant because opposition to choice continues to evolve and be creative in their efforts, and currently that includes fetal personhood. So we're going to have to continue to be on the offense to make sure that we are one step ahead in Washington to ensure that in Washington, choice will remain the rule of law in our state.
And Bob Ayal.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would never presume that I would have any rights or authority to dictate how anyone manages their own health care. I believe whatever the state legislature can do to protect reproductive rights, we should do that. In my day job, going beyond reproductive rights in, say, in abortion, we've adopted a policy at work that we can assist financially those who are seeking fertility treatments and that are not covered by insurance. So we can help, we can assist them to get those treatments so that finances aren't a barrier to getting all of those treatments. So thank you.
Beginning with Jessica Bateman, the third question is, what is your position on ending long-term solitary confinement for persons who are incarcerated?
I support ending long-term confinement for individuals that are incarcerated.
I would also
Bob
support
Ayala?
that.
I would support short-term as well.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone want to expand on their answer?
It seems like solitary confinement is a human rights issue and a human rights abuse, in my opinion. I think there's other ways to engage with people in the criminal system besides confinement, solitary confinement.
Jessica, Bob?
I'm good.
Okay. So returning to Bob Ayal, the next question is, how would you address the need for more behavioral health services?
Well, I believe that the state has already taken some good steps towards providing access to behavioral health services. I think we need to continue that. We need to build on that foundation. I believe that going beyond just the mental health part of it, we need to address substance abuse, opioid abuse, supporting medically assisted treatment facilities that provide wraparound services, and it's not just a treatment center, but also provides counseling, dental health services. I think we need to address all of those and incorporate all of that to come up with the solution to provide those services.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. How would you address the need for more behavioral health services?
I would want to secure more funding, a designated revenue stream, and I do believe we need to increase accessibility for students who already have HIPAA rights at the age of 13, but they aren't protected with HIPAA rights at schools with counselors. We need to address mental health issues at the root, and quite often children carry these issues into the schools from their homes. This is a great avenue to connect families who need resources. As well, we need to make sure that medications are available to everyone who needs it, and that Medicaid insurances ensure their patients receive it.
Thank you.
In time.
Jessica Bateman?
Thank you. I hear every day from constituents, including my schools in my district, that talk about needing behavioral health specialists, peers that need access to behavioral health. We also have a lot of individuals in our unhoused communities that need access to behavioral health. I've sponsored legislation to increase the behavioral health workforce, also to authorize psychologists to earn additional education and be able to prescribe psychotropic drugs so we can get more access to medications for people that desperately need it. We also need to increase our construction of capital facilities for behavioral health facilities in communities. We need to work with our local behavioral health partners. I've worked to pass legislation to get them increases during COVID to their pay to make sure that they weren't experiencing burnout. We could retain them and make sure that they were able to do that work. In the future, we need to look at, in our community, a crisis triage facility, which we currently don't have. We can also look to assisted outpatient treatment, so we can work with individuals who are not responsive to traditional treatment methods and help work with them, similar to a drug court, to encourage them to get that treatment.
Beginning with Tila Hogel, the fifth question is, if passage of Initiative 2109 repeals the capital gains tax, what alternatives would you support to fund K-12 education, early learning, and childcare?
Well, I would personally support a state income tax. And can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. If passage of Initiative 2109 repeals the capital gains tax, what alternatives would you support to fund K-12 education, early learning, and childcare?
I would, if we cannot do a state income tax, I would want to institute a corporate income tax for national businesses who do business in our region, because I do believe they have a responsibility to provide for the people they serve, which are both the consumers and their employees. And yeah, that's how I would do it.
Okay. Jessica Bateman?
Thank you. Washington is home to the second most regressive tax code in the nation. We were the most regressive tax code in the entire country until we passed the capital gains tax, which I proudly co-sponsored and voted in support of. If that initiative passes and we do not have that revenue, it will be detrimental to our ability to provide services in Washington state. I support a wealth tax on the highest income earners in Washington to help balance our tax code and to make it more fair for working people. And I also support a large employer tax and payroll tax tax. We need to have a robust, sustainable revenue system in Washington without the ability to pass an income tax. And in order to do that, we have to look at progressive revenue options in order to make our revenue system more sustainable and more equitable.
Bob Ayel?
Yeah, thank you. So I believe we need to find a balance between fairness, economic growth, and practical implementation. One strategy would be to support, if the voters of Washington State do repeal the capital gains tax, we should replace it with a combination of other measures designed to maintain tax fairness and revenue generation. Enhanced tax credits, targeted sales tax reductions, progressive property tax reforms, and closing tax loopholes can collectively address the regressive nature of the current system. And so I believe by balancing these approaches, we can implement a tax system that is fairer and more efficient, and even in the absence of the capital gains tax, it would ensure that the burden does not fall disproportionately on the lower income residents while promoting economic vitality. Thank you.
Beginning with Jessica Bateman, the final question is, are there changes to the Growth Management Act you would support if elected to the legislature? If so, what changes would you like to see?
That's a wonderful question. I've worked on a couple pieces of legislation that have done just that by changing the Growth Management Act. I sponsored House Bill 1110, which worked to address our housing shortage by legalizing diverse housing options statewide. Unfortunately, even in a housing crisis and a housing shortage, local governments, cities across the state, there are 260 of them, predominantly the majority of them made it illegal to build diverse housing options like duplexes, triplexes, sixplexes, et cetera. So that was a direct change to the Growth Management Act. It also limited things like minimum parking requirements and also made it so that the design review process that people go through when they have new construction of a building is objective, not subjective, which hopefully will streamline that process. I think in order to address our housing crisis, we do need to concentrate growth in cities, which is the tenet of the Growth Management Act. So I don't see a wide-scale change or a whole change, but I do think that there are some things that we need to do to address our housing shortage in it.
Bob Ayel?
Repeat the question, please.
Yes. Are there changes to the Growth Management Act you would support if elected to the legislature? If so, what changes would you like to see?
Well, first I would really like to ensure that cities and counties and communities are actually following the Growth Management Act. I think the Growth Management Act has some very appropriate and viable aspects to it. It lists, I believe, like 15 goals that protect a lot of issues like historical preservation, environmental protection, property owners' rights, and that sort of thing. So making sure that the communities are following that to begin with. If there are changes needed, I would actually agree with Jessica that managing maybe trust lands in communities to lower the cost for initial home ownership, things that we can do to encourage folks to live in the communities of their choice is important to me. And if we can make changes to the Growth Management Act to accomplish that, that would be good for me.
Great, thank you. And Tila Hogel.
In terms of our increasing population, we need to expand public transportation in the city centers and in more rural places. And as we continue to build outside of our urban centers, make sure that they have access to medical, housing, food, clothing needs locally in the area. And as we do prepare for our future and are building new homes, we have to remember to take care of those who still don't have them. As we prepare to grow into the future, we need to bring with us the people here now who need our attention. So, thank you.
You now have 1 minute each for a closing statement, beginning with Bob Ayal.
Thank you. I would like to point out that Washington State has some good aspects. For example, we're one of the top states in the nation for supporting business and workers' rights. We lead in industries like aerospace, agriculture, clean technology, and many more things. I like to use the positive aspects to build a foundation to address the issues that we still face. Our residents are experiencing housing affordability challenges. Let's seek solution through collaboration that benefit both tenants and property owners. Let's build on the work that's been done to expand access to behavioral health services. And it is vital that we maintain funding and schedules for transportation projects to keep the I-5 corridor open and moving. Additionally, I'm committed to supporting environmental efforts that increase salmon runs and preserve our unique economy. Thank you very much.
Tila Hogel.
So housing is the biggest crisis I do believe we face. And in addition to increasing housing, we need to make sure to address affordability, we need money in the pockets of people who need to rent homes. And I will be working on doing my best to make sure that our tax code changes so that low-income people aren't paying the greatest tax burden in our state. And I will be working towards instituting a universal basic income. And in this area, I would like to see our schools fully funded, and I would like to make sure that gender-affirming care is secured with reproductive care.
Thank you. Jessica Bateman.
It's been an honor serving as your state representative for the last 4 years. And in the Senate, I will continue fighting to create affordable housing, increasing access to equitable health care, including behavioral health, ensuring that reproductive rights are protected in Washington, and conserving our environment. I am proud to earn the sole endorsement of Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland, Attorney General Bob Ferguson, Lieutenant Governor Denny Heck, Senator Sam Hunt, Representative Beth Dolio, and the Washington State Labor Council, Planned Parenthood Advocates Northwest, and the Washington Conservation Action. If you would like to learn more about me, please visit me at my website at votejessicabateman.com. You can learn more and get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica Bateman, Tila Hogel, and Bob Ayal for participating in this candidate forum. We thank our partner, TC Media, for producing and airing it. We are indebted to TC Media for years of making these forums happen and educating the voters. We encourage our viewers to be a voter in the upcoming election on August 6th. Every vote counts. Ballots for military personnel will be mailed on June 21st, and all other ballots will be mailed out around the 17th of July, and you may register to vote up until the election day. Thank you for watching this 2024 primary candidate forum.